Movie talk time. Okay, big week this week. I started the week very, very excited to see what was going to be going on with this trial. Can't say that it fully lived up to my expectations, but I have got many thoughts about this that I'm sure will come out in the course of the next hour.
To me, this feels like we all thought that the story would end with the trial, but I don't think it will now.
It feels like there is still more to go.
There's more to come.
Yeah, but it was an odd little. Oh no, we'll talk about it when we get to it.
I know, but I've got some stuff to say. I'm going to forget it.
No,
go on. I know.
Toyahs and Lawyers is what I'm calling it this week because that's what those scenes were. We also had a bit of the Khaadi scene. Storyline, but also old Rick Neelan was dug up yet again in a figurative sense this time, rather than Gary getting his shovel out in the woods. But will Gary finally get his just desserts this time? Probably not. But that was quite exciting this week. And we had the return of Sharon, of course. Stu've been framed is our third story of the week this week. And there's a bit of Sean stuff mixed in there as well. Glenda at the Rovers. I am calling this from cruise singer to booze bringer. Because she is there, she's off the boat, she's behind the bar, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing where that goes.
And the way she pulls a pint, she is bringing booze.
She did a better job than today's episode, at least before she poured it over Daisy anyway. And we also had the professional kicker Dodgy ticker storyline for all you James fans out there. So, do you want to do the Toyah or would you like to do the Khaadi storyline?
What do you want me to do?
I'll do the Toyah storyline, I think. I also thought we could call this veggie grilled or grilled veggies or something like that. No, that's silly.
You don't grill veggies, do you?
You can do. I don't know any cooking, but I believe it is possible.
Of course, yeah. I would say char grilled.
Well, let's find out. Let's see.
Grilled vegetables.
So, we went into this week.
I know you can do it. I know you can grill them. I know you can, but it sounds so horrible. In America, that would be better because that would mean it was barbecued.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't. We have a misunderstanding intercontinentally about what the word barbecue means, don't we?
I guess we do.
Well, the way we call barbecuing when you go out and you cook your things over coals with a grill over the top.
Yeah.
But barbecue in America, they say, I'm going to go and grill, don't they? And they grill burgers and things on their barbecue. And barbecue is a completely different thing that you go to a restaurant, like a grill pit, and they have the pit masters and they do all the Louisiana stuff and the rubs and the wet marinades and dry marinades and vinegar bases.
So we went into this week knowing that the big trial storyline was coming up.
And
there have been many trial storylines in Coronation Street in the past, obviously, many of them stretching days or weeks even to lead up to this big verdict at last, and it's fair to say that this one felt a little bit blink and you miss it, although it did take up a good chunk of the Thursday middle episode of the week. I don't even know what day things were. Wednesday, Thursday and Sunday were
a lot of people thought that it was
yes, I did as well, but there were some great scenes in there, so and lovely performances as well, I have to say. So it started off on Wednesday with Toyah in the flat with Leanne, her solicitor, getting herself all ready to go to the court for trial. She's upset, she reckons Syra's going to do whatever she can to see her behind bars, and Leanne says, I know, take your mind off it, love, go and see Abby. Maybe she'll let you have a little bit of a play with Alfie before you go off to court.
This was so precious, I have to say. I absolutely adored this.
It was very nice, wasn't it? So Leanne goes to see Abby, or she sees Abby in the bistro later and says, look, can Toyah have Alfie for a few hours, take her mind off the trial and all that? And Abby's a little bit hesitant.
Can I just say
agrees.
How ridiculous, really, this situation was? Can Toyah have your son, because she's a bit sad, she's going on trial for murdering his dad.
Yeah.
and Abby's like, no problem. Do you want the nappy back?
I liked it when, I can't remember who it was that found Toyah with the baby later, and she's like, don't worry, Abby knows that I've got him. I've not kidnapped him again.
That was really, I don't think it was really funny, but it was played really well too.
Yeah. Everything that Georgia did this week was played really well. Like even when Toyah sees that she's being set up a little bit when Abby offers to say, oh, Toyah, would you like to the baby? And she knows that it's all been arranged, but she's all teary. She goes over to the cot and everything. She wants that baby.
Take the baby.
So, it's Kelly who finds Toyah and Alfie in the gardens later,
because she's like,
isn't it?
sorry, because she's kind of the prosecution's witness, isn't she?
One of them, yeah. She's going to go and tell them what she knows about Imran's death. And she says, look, I know you never purposely hurt Imran. I'm dreading going to court tomorrow, but I kind of got to do it now, soz. So Toyah's she squeezes out a good few tears this week, doesn't she, old Georgia Taylor? She's talking to Alfie about missing Imran and how wonderful he was and probably how handsome and stuff. And then Gemma comes in and wonders what's up, and she says, tells her, I just got hay fever. And then she says to Alfie, I just hope that one day you'll be able to forgive me for taking your daddy away from you. So she's feeling mega guilty at this point, and it's like, I was wondering, I was very, very curious to see, is she going to plead guilty or not guilty, or whether she was going to do a massive confess in the middle of the proceedings or anything, because she, whatever the jury say about her, she 100% blames herself for Imran's death, doesn't she? So Leanne tries to give Toyah a ring a little bit later because Gemma goes and says, I saw Toyah in the park earlier and she didn't look good, but Leanne can't get hold of her. Cut to DS Swain meeting Spider in Kitchener Street later. He doesn't have any updates on Toyah for her because his little job at the moment is to try and get the dirt on Toyah, and so that Swain can use it to send her down. But he's very honourable and loyal towards our Toyah, and it's like, no, it's alright, I haven't found anything about her, not going to do it.
He's like, you should have really thought about gathering evidence before you decided to take her to trial, really.
Yes. So then Leanne rings up Spider and says, I'm worried about Toyah, I don't know where she is, can you help find her, please? And then they have a weird cut. So the next thing we see from this story is Spider taking Toyah back to the flat. And it's like, and I was like, did I miss a scene here or something? And they kind of add into the dialogue, I knew I'd find you at the crash site or something like that. But apparently,
I didn't even get that.
No, I had to rewind it because I was like, where did they go again? And yeah, so apparently Toyah went back to the site of the car crash, and Spider happens to guess that that's where she would be. And when he went there, she happened to still be there. But that was a little bit weird. I suppose it would have been a bit of a jaunt because they filmed that quite a long way away from Media City, didn't they?
It was in Cardiff.
It wasn't in Cardiff. It was an hour or so away, I think. But so that didn't sit quite right with me. But anyway, she's just sobbing her little heart out, and he's saying, "Oh, don't worry, you'll be fine. I believe you. I trust you." And she's like, "No, I crashed the car on purpose. It wasn't an accident."
What?
So first big
Toyah.
revelation of the week. Toyah actually crashed the car on purpose. She says, yeah, I remember exactly what happened. I got really mad and drove into the building. And Spider's like, I can't be hearing this. Obviously, Toyah doesn't know that Spider's a copper at this point, and she's confessing to this guy that she is actually a murderer or manslaughterer or whatever it is. And he's like, no, I can't be hearing this. It's not true. It was an accident, Toyah. You didn't do it on purpose. And Toyah's like, no, I did. I really, really did. She's like trying to have her own feeling at the lighthouse scene at this point, isn't she? Saying, 4 victims, Eileen. Oh, this is her number one. And Leanne bursts in at that point because she's been listening in at the door, so she's heard all of this as well. And she's like, no, you don't mean it. You don't know what you're talking about, Toyah.
She's like, shut up, idiot.
Yes. Spider goes and does a disappearing act again, and Toyah wants to go and find him, but Leanne's like, no, you need to sit down, you need to breathe, and tell me exactly what you remember about the day of the crash. So Toyah says, look, I remember Imran confessing about lying in court, and it was only a few months ago, but I'd kind of semi-forgotten about what it was. It was like Imran saying that it was him fixing up or making out that Abby was buying drugs, wasn't it? But actually she wasn't. Imran said in court that he and his bloke, whatever his name was it Ben? Maybe they said that that Abby was selling drugs.
Yes.
And that's why she should have the baby taken away from her. And he admitted to Toyah just when they were in the car that that's not true or something. He
said he was going to tell everybody that he lied.
Did he? Okay.
I'm pretty sure. And then and then she said, well, that's ruined everything because they'll take the kid, they'll take Alfie off first, we'll lose Elsie, everything's going wrong because you lied and you're so dumb.
Well, she tells Leanne that she was angry and she was scared and she lost it just for a moment. But that happened to the moment there was a very nice looking building in front of us that thought we would go crash bang wallop into. And she said she didn't remember at first, but yeah, she's known for a while now, apparently. She didn't even need a flashback about it or anything. She's just been keeping that one under her hat. So Leanne is fuming. Why tell me this? The evening before the trial, you've made things an awful lot more difficult for everybody now. And Toyah's like, I just wanted to tell somebody. Imran and I had the perfect life and he destroyed it. And in that moment, I did not care what happened to either of us, whether we lived or died. She says she hates herself for what she did. And Leanne's like, well, you know, your mother-in-law would hate you even more if you knew this. And so would bloody Alfie as well.
Like that.
Yeah, they can be, can't they?
Very vengeful when you kill their sons.
And Toyah says, I've been punishing myself every day for it. Believe me. And Leanne says, well, that's a small mercy at least. Storms off. And
Leanne's very cross with her.
She is a bit cross. And Toyah has just kind of left a blubbering mess on the sofa. Oh, no. Thinking, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that possibly.
I don't think she's worried. I don't think she's worried that she told Leanne. She knows Leanne.
She knows Leanne's got her back.
Yeah, but Leanne thinks Toyah's gone too far.
Yeah, well, she actually has. I'll tell you what.
Well, we'll have to. You wait.
This was synopsising first.
This, yeah.
So, Peter finds Leanne in Victoria Gardens, looking very sorry for herself, and he says, "Oh, you know what, Leanne? I'm such a chilled, relaxed guy, and I forgive Toyah for everything. She stole Susie. She tried to pass this baby off as ours." But you know what? I forgive her because I've got that LA attitude. You should do the same. And Leanne goes, "Oh, that gives me a bit of a thing."
Peter basically says, "What? Well, this is not unprecedented, is it?" Mm. She's always been nuts.
She doesn't tell it. She doesn't tell Peter what.
No, of course
Toyah
not.
said, though, does she?
No, but he
gives her food for thought.
Well, she's done worse. Or has she? I don't really know.
So Toyah's leaving a message for Spider on his answer phone when Leanne comes back to the flat later, and she says, "Look, I didn't get into the car intending to kill Imran." No, Leanne says to her, "Sorry, you didn't get into the car intending to kill Imran, so there's no murder case." And this is this is where it all hinges this week, isn't it? Because Toyah is in court for murder. So it fell to the prosecution team to try and prove that she knew before she got in the car that she was going to drive into a building. And apparently, if she didn't know about it before she got on the car, she's absolutely fine and not a criminal at all. And she could just be let go and given a pat on the back, maybe.
This is the trouble with... I admit I don't really understand how the court system works because I get very confused because I spend a lot of time looking at American court cases and true crime stories, so I get confused between the two systems. They are very similar, but there are also obviously some big differences. But I'm pretty sure that one of the problems that we have is that, and the same in America, where you have to decide what is the crime that you're going to try them for, and you can't turn around and say, "Oh well, okay then. If it wasn't that, then it probably was this." Yeah. So I think what they did was overcharge her. Really, if they had suggested that it was manslaughter or something, I think she probably would have gone down for it because. She would. But it just really does feel like a miscarriage of justice. Don't you think?
Yeah, it's not the usual soap miscarriage of justice where the innocent person gets sent to prison.
No, this is like the guilty person.
Let's say what happened.
Okay, yeah, don't get sidetracked. Don't get sidetracked.
So, Leanne's telling her more about it. Toyah's saying, "Oh yeah, I killed Imran. I deserve everything that's coming to me. I saw the building, didn't turn the wheel. I just closed my eyes and drove into the building."
Why?
And Leanne says, no, you didn't. And Toyah also chooses this moment to tell her that Spider knows she's guilty as well. So meanwhile, he's all kind of feeling all conflicted in Victoria Gardens. And when Toyah tries to phone him later, he can't bring himself to answer it because he knows that as a copper, he should probably report to his bosses exactly what she has just told him. But he loves her.
I have to say, this episode left me feeling incredibly sulky and cross.
Me too. I was feeling quite cross about this.
Because we had all these elaborate theories about what really happened and never once entertained the idea that
it was as simple as it was.
It was literally what we were told all along. And I got really mad. I was just like, when Coronation Street does stuff I don't like, I get really shirty.
Gemma was quite shirty during Wednesday's episode.
Well, that's just silly, isn't it?
Those days.
Well, I don't agree with this.
So, Thursday's episode, the trial, the big Toyah day, and she's leaving messages for Spider again on his answer phone, but not getting any response. She's pretty much given up already. She just wants to, she thinks that she deserves life behind bars or worse. But Leanne says, no, you mustn't say anything stupid in court. Plead innocent, not guilty.
Don't start telling them about your flat earth theories.
Yeah. Then Adam comes up to them because he's also given evidence against Toyah on trial.
Oh, this
and
was
he says,
just
I'm just going to tell the court exactly what I heard Toyah say.
But
the whole,
that was absolute tosh.
The whole bit of the trial that revolved around him saying, I heard her say she's going to kill him. That was utter tosh, wasn't it? And when everyone was saying, have you ever said this in anger?
Yeah.
I was like, well, yes, clearly. But anyway.
Well, the thing is about this sort of thing is it's a similar thing. So when you're on a suicide hotline, trigger warning, should have said, sorry, to sort of help people, one of the warning signs they tell you is, if one of the things you can ask, do you feel suicidal? Do you think blah, blah, blah? When, do you have a plan for how you would do it? And that's the warning sign. If the person has a plan for how they are going to do it, that is a real serious warning sign that they very well might go on and do it. If somebody goes to you, oh God, I could bloody kill him, and you say, how exactly would you do it? And they've got an elaborate plan for how. That's when the warning signs. That's when the alarm bells go off in your head.
Not just when it's an off-the-cuff
tell
remark,
you the plot
like
that they've come up with. I mean, I'm going to kill him. It's probably one of the most common things that people.
It's a classic Corrie line.
Yeah. So I just, if he had heard her say, I'm gonna drive him into a wall, then
maybe
that might have been significant in some way, but just a wife.
It just made the prosecution look like they were clutching at straws, honestly.
Yep.
So anyway, they all turn up at court. Leanne's saying to Toyah, look, I'm really worried you're going to dob yourself in. Maybe you shouldn't testify.
What are you doing? You're unhinged. Yeah.
And Paige, who's her solicitor, is the one that Leanne wants to do all the talking. She's like, I'm not letting you go to prison. Leanne was great this week. She was supportive, and that's what I want.
Well, Leanne saved Toyah this week.
Yeah, the Battersby sisters are, some of my favourite siblings on the street, so it was really nice to see them. Leanne doing her best to champion Toyah, despite the fact that she maybe didn't deserve it this week.
Well, they're a fascinating pair of characters because they have so much history in the show, and we've seen this all play out, haven't we?
Yeah.
So just that kind of real bond, and the actresses very get on so well together on screen. And
that all comes out in there.
It really does. They've got this real sisterly bond that it's great, and they're so fierce defending one another. And Toyah has spent a lot of time being the support system for Leanne when she was going through with Ollie.
Yeah.
So it's about time Leanne paid her back.
Exactly. So Toyah gets to court, and this was the courthouse in Bolton. I don't think they didn't show any scenes on the steps this week, did they? Instead, they used the Weatherfield court doors that are just by the police station on the set, which is odd because obviously the inside was the exact same court as they used last year for the court cases.
Yeah, but
for the Seb case, but the exterior was different. But don't think about that too much.
Don't think about it.
And this was also where Georgia Taylor was papped with the Conversation Street bottle.
Yeah.
Earlier this summer, wasn't she?
You can still available for years. A year's
So
subscription for our top tier
prosecution. This woman, the solicitor, or whatever it's called,
Conversation Street.
Sell out. She says to the jury, right, you're going to be told that. What did she say? You're going to be told that she didn't drive into the wall on purpose and it was just an accident, but absolutely she did.
And here's why.
Here's why. She had every intention of killing herself and Imran. And to tell us more about this is Adam Barlow.
Here's our Scottish correspondent.
So Adam says that yes, Imran did sometimes talk about the problems that he and Toyah were having in their marriage. And
look,
also,
shut up, Barlow.
I heard her say she was going to kill him one time.
What about you and Sarah? What about that baby you were trying to have?
I know.
Well, where's the baby then?
Paige stands up and says,
Adam,
have you ever threatened to kill anyone?
What's wrong with your
jest?
hair?
Stop, I'm talking. He
Bloody
says,
Adam.
well, I guess maybe you would say that and not mean it.
He said,
"Oh well."
he said, "Shut up, or I'll kill you." Only joking, or am I?
So that was Adam's time in the spotlight.
And he's a lawyer himself.
I know.
He couldn't even silver tongue his way out of it. I tell you what, it's not a very good advert for his services, is it?
Next up, we on the conveyor belt is Kelly, and she says, "Oh yeah, Imran told me about lying about the stuff about Abby buying drugs and all that." And he felt really bad about it, and he was going to tell Toyah later on that day, the day of the car crash. So basically, because the prosecution are trying to make out that Toyah knew about it before they got into the car, I suppose this bit of evidence was slightly more crucial to the case, because because he'd planned to tell her, and if he had, then. I don't know.
All the way through this, I was getting flashbacks to the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, and I was in my head, I was going, objection, hearsay, objection, hearsay.
I know.
Is any of this admissible?
I don't know. Anyway, Kelly is you can, because she's a goodie and everything. Obviously, she's a saint. She's very much struggling when she's getting the questions that would go on to implicate Toyah. But but so she does her best.
Basically, yeah, she's just saying that as far as my evidence that I'm giving you goes, this is her motive.
Yes.
And this was told to me by the murdered man. So
they have a little break.
Important.
They have a little break after those two star witnesses. Syra,
so that Syra can go.
So that Syra can have, do a good guard dog act, and she goes, no. She clops off. Toyah tells Paige about Syra's suspicions about her and Spider being an item, and that could really ruin our case. But I don't know where he is. Hopefully he's in London. No, he's in the alley again with Swain. He didn't get out of that alley this week, barely, did he? He says, anyway, me and Toyah have split up. And she reckons that Toyah's told him something related to the trial, and she's like really trying to get the details out of him, but he keeps dumb. Well done, Spider. So, court resumes, and now it is Syra, who's up on in the witness stand, and she says, "I always found Toyah cold, heartless, and manipulative, but Imran loved her very much. Too much. He trusted her, and she shouldn't have. He shouldn't have. And then she brings up the fact that she very coincidentally saw Toyah snogging Spider just recently, while Imran's body was barely even cold. And then Paige says, well, you know what? You weren't the best mother in this world, were you? In fact, Imran had asked you to stay away from him. So how is it that you know so much about your son's relationship with Toyah? And Sarah's just like, oh, well, yeah, I know her type. She knows it. I know enough. And Paige says...
Totally showed herself up there.
She did. Paige says, Imran rescued Toyah after the crash. Would he have really done that if he was terrified for his life from this demon wife of his? So Syra's kind of goes off with a tail between her legs.
To be fair, it's totally... I mean, what did happen was he didn't obviously realise that she decided to drive him into a wall, which I think is a bit weird, actually. Do you not think that Imran's actually the best witness there is for this? Because...
Call Imran.
I know he's dead, but he reacted in a way that doesn't feel like he knew that she was trying to kill him. And what did he think was happening when she drove into a wall?
Yeah, we'll never know because they didn't have flashbacks.
So this is the thing that's really bothering me about this. Is Toyah just so guilty that she's manifested this memory and she's convinced herself that she... Oh, we'll talk about it later.
I don't know. Yeah, right.
Sorry.
Leanne's up next, saying that Toyah's kill him comment was off the cuffs. She's loving, she's caring, she's selfless, and very forgiving. She was going to raise Imran's baby, let's not forget. She never meant to kill Imran. It was an accident. And like, thanks for that, Toyah. Leanne, you've got no idea, really, have you? You're just there to say how lovely your sister is.
She's a character witness.
Yeah.
She's like, she's never killed anyone before, so well,
she's not,
I don't know why she's starting now.
She's not, yeah, it was pointless, that was.
Well, the whole
time for a break again, and Toyah is just, by this point, desperate to confess. And Leanne says, no, you need to get on with your life. you're not guilty of murder. And Toyah says, no, I've got to take the stand. I've got to say something.
This is like the weird... Like, Toyah must feel like she's in a Twilight Zone here because she keeps telling people that she killed Imran and they keep going, no, you didn't.
I know.
No, you didn't. And she's like, I bloody did.
You're
Why
too boring for that.
Listening to me, I did it. And they're like, no.
So we get to see a few little flashbacks of Imran, don't we, before Toyah takes the stand to swear her oath, which is quite nice. And she says, oh, I promise to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth. And she just kind of talks about the Imran's death and how awful and heartbreaking it was. She's asked about Imran's infidelity with Alfie, and then the lies about Abby. No, not with Alfie, that'd be weird. And then the lies about Abby, and she says, when did you find out about Abby? When did you find out that Imran lied about Abby? Was it before or after the crash? And this is the moment when it could have got very exciting and she does the full-on confession, but we have to wait for a break, we have to hear a few more flashbacks, and then she lies. She says, I found out about Imran's lies after the accident when I listened to the voicemail, which, by the way, I deleted because I thought it'd make the crash look
I'm
like
so
it was done on
confused about
purpose.
what really happened, Michael. I've lost my
So
memory.
what actually happened was she got into the car with Imran, blissfully unaware of the lies and everything. En route, he says, yeah, I kind of made that up about Abby, actually.
Did we see this?
We saw this.
So we saw him telling her,
yeah,
yes, of course we did.
Yeah, and that's when she does the I hate you with all my heart.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry.
But what she's saying is that
mad.
normal drive, they crashed.
Just accident.
And then I found out about the lies afterwards. So she's
I deleted it because I thought...
Yeah, actually, I thought it'd make it sound like I did it on purpose. But it was an accident.
Obviously.
I didn't do
it on purpose.
So
I'm just a really bad driver.
Then the baddie
and
lawyer,
then she went, women,
the prosecution,
women drivers,
grills her about her relationship with Imran again. And Toyah's like, I didn't know about the lies until after the crash, honestly. And then they say, oh, but you had memory loss after the crash. That's very convenient, isn't it? And we were like, yes, it is rather. But oh well. The only logical explanation, she's told, is that Imran confessed and that in your fury you planned to crash the car. And Toyah's like, I didn't mean to kill him, I didn't. So that was basically it. We have a bit of a summing up at the end. The prosecution is really trying hard to paint a picture of the fact that this was a calculated plan for murder on Toyah's part, and then Paige gets up and's like, no, there wasn't any plan, we can't condemn her just because she doesn't remember everything that happened, you haven't got any evidence against her, which they really haven't. And prosecution's story of a counsellor turned killer is just cheap fiction, and Toyah's already lost everything, we can't take away her freedom too. And with that, the trial of the century is over after about 10 minutes of screen time, if that. So, Toyah and Leanne return home at the end of the episode. Toyah just wants to go to bed. She says, don't care what the jury think. At the end of the day, Imran's dead because of me, and I have to live with that forever.
She's already in a prison of her own making.
She is, isn't she?
So this is when
a prison where there's no veggie lasagna.
Oh dear. We're expecting to see the next episode on the Friday.
Yes.
And then it turns out, no, we've got to wait until Sunday.
Yeah, we had to wait extra time.
We knew that there would be the verdict.
Yeah, and it came really early in the episode. I kind of thought that there'd be, I don't know, more trial stuff or something, and then we get the verdict at the very end. But no, I
thought there'd be some kind of
it out really quickly.
Another lengthy scene with Leanne and Toyah where she, does she account for the fact that maybe she didn't really kill him on purpose?
No,
and she's just...
They just get up, have their breakfast, go to court. Bit of an advert break where we got to see the gavel there on the indent.
All rise for the verdict and the adverts.
Yeah, here's the gavel. We don't have gavels in courts, but I'm going to show it anyway, so everybody knows this is definitely a trial episode. And then we find out not guilty.
Ah.
Hooray, I suppose.
In your face, Alia.
Yeah, I love how Alia made the special trip to go to court just so that she could see Toyah get sent down, and it's like, no. Yeah, her and Syra are like just seething this.
No more speed dial
Leanne's
dinners
mega relieved. No,
exactly.
Exactly. And Toya's just like looking super serious because she obviously... she knows she deserves to be punished for this, and now she's been told, yeah, you can go now if you want. You've car-crashing murderer.
You can't stay. You can't put yourself in prison.
No.
What would happen? Right, what would happen? Maybe somebody can write and tell us. What would happen if, during a trial, at the end of a trial, they say, not guilty, and then the person in the dock's like, ha ha ha, I got away with it, I did it. You can't charge me again. Double jeopardy. Ha ha ha. What would happen?
I don't know. That'd be really
Do you think
funny.
they obviously?
It must have happened.
Do you reckon? I was gonna say, obviously, this has never happened.
Anyway, Toyah's looking very sober about the whole thing. That would be
super delicious if it was possible for you to reveal, like, that would be quite fun actually. If in court it was like, right, this is the verdict, you're not guilty, so tell us, did you do it or not?
Yeah.
They were like, yeah, I did. And they were like, oh,
we got it wrong.
The jury's like, God damn it.
And then one of the people in the jury's like, I told you that she did it. You all convinced me to say not guilty.
I think I should write in to the court and suggest this. It's add a great entertainment value.
Right, anyway, so Leanne says, oh, you're free, Toyah. Would you like to have a fancy treat of a meal at the bistro? And consider it, they've only got one place that they can go. They can't even go to Speed Dial anymore, can they? Like you said, literally, if you want a treat and you're a Battersby, it's bistro or bust.
Well, I think it's a bit rude that they're so standoffish to Toyah after all the defence they're giving to Stu.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Rude.
So Syra comes in and has another moan for a bit. Toyah's just like totally racked with guilt, but she's like, oh well, I'll get over it, I'm sure. Toyah goes back to the flat where she gets a visit from a spider, and he's like, sorry for going AWOL. He says, I've heard you've been found not guilty, so as far as I'm concerned, the whole thing's over. And he is almost like turning to the cameras and saying, and it can be over for you too, viewers.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
I don't think that's right.
We're letting her get away with this one.
I thought Spider looked too happy because it looked like he just thought, I got told something I didn't want to hear, and now the problem's gone away again. So it sounded like almost he was like saying, don't bring this up to me again because you got found not guilty and I'm not interested.
Yeah, I do wonder whether it's going to get found out that he knew and didn't say anything. Is he going to get conveniently overheard talking to Toyah about it by DS Swain, and then he'll have his badge torn off him or something? I don't know. Anyway, we have another lovely kiss with Toyah and Spider through the tears, because she's just so relieved to have him back. Then we have another meeting between Spider and Swain in the alleyway, and she's like, you're stringing Toyah along here. You've not told her about your secret copper identity. This is really naughty. But your boss isn't going to hear about it from me. I'm not going to tell the super. So just you tell her yourself, maybe. And then by the end of the episode, it's almost like everything's back to normal, isn't it? Spider, Toyah, Peter and Griff are having a drink in the Rovers together. Toyah's like, anyway, when's the next protest, guys? Because I'm back into activism again.
Back in the game.
Griff is chuffed with this, and Spider's like, bloody hell no, Toyah. Stop it now. Stop it. You can't be doing with this. And then I did enjoy the scene with Spider and Griff at the end of the episode where they're up at the bar together, and Spider's like, so, I hear you're up to some really underground stuff and like really dangerous. Let me know about it. I'm in. I want to go to the. I want to go to the dark side. I want to knock it up a notch. I want to go to the next level. And Griff's like, no, mate. If you know what's good for you, you're gonna back off. So clearly, as we've thought before, Griff is definitely up to the seedier side of activism or something, or protesting, and Spider's trying to get in there.
The seedier side, it makes it sound like you turn up with no bra on.
Anyway, I guess we'll find out more about that as time goes on. So, that is what happened in this story this week.
What a boggling week.
My mind was boggled by this. I'm just left with not knowing what to think. I kind of hoped when this all started, I'd know or this week started, that we'd be more, it'd be clearer what had happened.
I think we're in denial. I think it is clear what happened. But it doesn't really make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense because she's got away with it. And are we just supposed to be saying, oh, thank goodness, because she didn't get sent to prison? This is the thing. And like we've talked about on the podcast the last few weeks, there aren't very many Toyah supporters out there. So I think people were watching. I think we were supposed to think, hooray, she's being let off, but actually lots of people were saying no, she should have had the book thrown at her, and now it's like it's like they've moved on. But she properly, I just feel so disappointed by it and let down, because when she drove into the wall the first time, I was thinking, oh no, why they turned Toyah into, I hope they haven't turned Toyah into a murderer. And then in the back of my head, I was thinking, no, they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't have Toyah purposely kill Imran. And then when they showed that scene of her watching the CCTV footage in the police interview room, and it literally gave nothing else away. It was exactly the same thing. I thought, oh, thank goodness for that, because if they had any extra evidence, they'd have shown it then. Clearly, they're trying to make us think that she did it so that they can have some grand reveal or flashback or something about it when they come to the trial. But it just didn't feel like we learned anything new at the trial. There were no shocking revelations whatsoever. And I'm seriously just as confused now about it as I was then. Why didn't they show those final minutes where she decided to crash? Was it just to keep us guessing?
To it,
but actually, there was nothing to guess.
Are we being tricked again?
I don't know whether we are.
Tricked in the first place.
I'd really like to think that I was tricked, but it feels no. We told you very plainly all along what happened, and you chose to believe us when we hinted that maybe there was more to it, but there wasn't. It's just nuts. And I just hate the fact that Toyah, a favourite character of mine,
killed another favourite character
of mine. Yeah. And her defence, semi-defence, well, it wasn't her defence, I guess it was Leanne and Spider's defence of, oh, you just lost it. Sorry, that doesn't excuse her, does it? If I'm there, chopping up carrots or whatever, and then you come into the kitchen
and I say,
I don't know.
What should I say?
Nintendo's rubbish. And then
I go, Coronation Street.
Yeah, if you come and say, I'm not watching Coronation Street anymore, and I just
podcast with someone else.
I just get the red mist and stab you in the heart. I can't say, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't mean it. I just lost it. And then if somebody tried to try me for murder for it, and I got away with it because I didn't actually plan with it, it wouldn't feel fair that I would be then able to walk down the street a free man the next day. They've really, really done a number on Toyah here.
I'm baffled. I don't really know what I'm supposed to think.
It's not even like a fun murder like Charlie, Stubbs and Tracy, where you can make a joke out of it. Can you imagine 10 years' time Toyah saying, hey, yeah, I murdered someone once as well.
She's like, don't let me drive.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know how the character can come back from this.
Also, I'm really concerned that she's still got her driver's licence.
Yeah, that's true.
She should at least have had that taken away from her. Because really, I really am so confused. The thing is, they couldn't prove what they said was true.
No.
Because again, a lot of laws are based on what were you thinking when you did it, which just seems bonkers. Because unless somebody went around telling everybody, I'm really mad about this, I'm going to kill Imran by driving into a wall. But even then, it's like, well, who can say that's what she really meant?
Yeah, there was clearly not enough evidence to try her for murder.
Yeah, but she did do it, according to her. But do you believe her? Because I don't know if I do.
I think I do. I don't know. I think
I'm just still in denial.
I'd love her to be thinking and she's kind of misremembering it because she's punishing herself too much. And that extra car that pulled up at the end or something, I'd like there to be something, but I think Corrie have said, no, we're done with this now.
No, I think, okay, so I think I've mentioned this story before on the podcast, but I remember very vividly reading a story when we were in university, when I was at the gym, when I used to go to the gym with Sarah, do you remember?
I do.
I read an article in a magazine about a woman who was driving her car, and there was a pedestrian crossing at the crest of a hill, just beyond the crest of a hill. And she drove into somebody and killed them who was crossing the road because she didn't see them. And when the police got there and sat her down and they interviewed her on the scene and they said, what happened here? And she said, I was speeding and I didn't see, I was going 40 and I didn't see them and I didn't stop in time and I've killed this person. And the police officer said, do not say this. say you were going 30 because there's no reason that you should ruin your life as well as this person because this pedestrian crossing was in completely the wrong place. It shouldn't have been there. It wasn't really your fault. You probably would have killed them if you were going 30 anyway. So just say that you were going 30. So she said she was going 30 and that was the official story, and she spent years of her life racked with guilt. She could not cope with the fact that she had not been punished, and eventually she confessed to this and she got prosecuted, and I don't remember what it was that she had to do, or she had to custodial sentence or anything, but I do remember that she said that that was the only time after that had happened, when they had taken her confession and taken her to court and stuff, that was when she could finally relax for the first time in years, because she felt as though the burden had been lifted from her, and that she felt like she is owed karma from the universe, you know. And I wonder if this is going to be Toyah's story now. Is she going to be haunted, kind of a bit like Yasmin is, by Imran?
We're going to get some extra
Maybe
appearances
we'll have,
from Imran.
but you know what I mean? Is she? I think I really do wonder if she's going to suffer with the guilt here,
More
and we're going to have
misery for Toyah.
more
Brilliant.
Toyah being sad until something happens, and I don't know what that something could be. I mean, does she need to go and get herself put in prison? Because that seems like a weird thing for the character to end up with, a bit prolonged. We could have just had that now.
Yeah.
Or is she going to have to confess it to somebody else? Like, is she going to have to say it to Abby?
Maybe,
Because she's only told Leanne and Spider so far.
Yeah. What would Abby say if she found out?
I think Abby probably would forgive her. Because she kind of did it for Abby in a way, because she was so cross about what Imran had done. She didn't really do it for him.
She did, but I think that Abby would be too mad that she basically robbed Alfie of a dad. I don't.
Yeah, but don't forget that Imran was trying to steal Alfie from Abby.
Yeah, no, I know. Speaking of reactions as well, I was wondering what Peter was going to say, but he also seems to be just pleased that it's all over, and he's not questioning at all the fact that Toyah did it. It's I don't. I suppose at the moment Peter believes the official story that she just didn't see that. Well, I can't even remember what she said in court in the end. Did she just say
it was an accident?
It was just an accident, and Peter believes that?
Yeah, what's her story for why she drove into a wall?
I don't even remember.
Did they even ask her what actually happened?
I can't remember now. This was days ago. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. It could be a story of her guilt, but I don't think I want to see that. It just sounds really, really miserable.
What next for Toyah?
Well, she's doing more of this activism, and maybe she's doing that as I'm doing something good. Yeah, exactly. It's going to balance out the bit of
this
death
guilt
by dangerous driving, which is what she should have been tried with, by the way, I think.
Yeah, maybe Griff will use this as a lever to convince her to do something that she might not have done. Like, oh, you know, your husband, you know, I know you feel guilty about what happened to him, but if you could save a life, would that balance it out? And then, you know, or you can save a life by setting fire to this petrol tanker.
Yeah.
And then saving all the seals.
Well, that sounds quite fun.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure we can think of some weird way of explaining to her why death and destruction is actually a good thing as long as you do it for the planet.
Yeah, and if her head's not in the right space, then maybe
I think
she's
going to go loopy.
She'd buy it. I think so. I think you could be right. Do you reckon that it's going to be long before Spider tells her that she's a police officer? Is he going to tell her that he's a police officer? Is he going to tell her, or is she going to find out? It feels like
she's going to not be happy about that.
I'm sad because I do like them together.
How about Toyah's redemption arc? Right, is that they're driving in the car. She's driving Spider to a protest, and he says to her, "Listen, Toyah, I think you should probably know that I'm actually an undercover police officer." And she goes, "No, not more lies!" And then she sees a nice wall,
and she doesn't crash into it.
And she's like, "Oh, I normally would try to kill us both at this point, but actually I've grown as a character.
Yeah, I've learned my lesson,
and I feel suddenly at peace with myself, and I've learned a lesson to not try to kill people when they annoy me."
Yeah.
Also,
maybe.
the other thing that we haven't even mentioned is that she didn't actually kill him. He just fell over and died.
He died as a consequence.
I know he died as a consequence, but
Yeah.
Well, I've heard of people being charged for murder after years of their victim being in a coma in hospital and then finally popping their clogs, and as a result of the injury that they sustained while in the process of trying to kill them, it counts as murder, and then they get hauled into court.
Oh,
so it does count, I guess. But
the other thing that I noticed about the trial, speaking of Spider, has everybody forgotten what his actual name is? Because they mentioned Spider got brought up a couple of times in the trial, didn't he? And like Sarah's like, or Cyrus like, Spider, I believe he calls himself. Yeah, I don't think he actually got properly named as Jeffrey at any point, which is weird. Is it because they didn't think that the viewers would know who Jeffrey Nugent was? Doesn't make sense to me.
Why would Sarah know his name was Jeffrey?
No, she wouldn't, but I would have thought that, in legal proceedings, one of the other people might say, that's it, his name is Jeffrey Nugent.
As a matter of record, Your Honour, may I just explain?
Yeah, just for the...
That this was from the 90s and it was a very big story back in the day because of Swampy.
I guess that Toyah is just going to throw herself into this activism to try and assuage her guilt.
Tell you what she could do, watercolours or something like that. Or jigsaws.
Yeah.
Peter's got a load of jigsaws. He's probably... not using anymore.
Oh well, it didn't really go the way that we wanted it to.
I know, it's difficult.
It feels like it's not over, but at least there were some very, very good performances. I thought that Jane Danson and Georgia Taylor were just magnificent this week, weren't they?
She was so good. I tell you what, when there were the court case was going on, and there were a few close-ups of Georgia Taylor as she was reacting to some of the things that was happening, and like the way there was a bit where her lawyer was arguing something on her behalf, and she was kind of like doing these little tiny mini nods, like that is what happened, and she just looked so desperate and like
the little tears that drop out. She's
frustrated with herself, and she just does these really fantastic expressions, and she really is just, it seems like she's totally living.
And all the stuff with Alfie on Monday was wonderfully done. It's just a real shame that
it's difficult
the character's been dragged through the mud, and I think, anyone who wasn't a fan of Toyah this week isn't going to have changed their mind. I think lots of people recognise that Georgia is a really, very capable actress, but... This is a
difficult story here, because I actually don't think that anyone's happy. Toyah fans probably not happy. Well, I'm not happy because she actually did kill Imran. Toyah haters not happy because she got away with it.
Yeah.
So what's this story for then?
Unsatisfying all round.
It's also difficult to pass out my feelings about this because of how much I really like Toyah, and I really wanted her to not have done it. And is that really colouring my opinion of this to make me think that I didn't like it when actually it was fine? You know what I'm saying? I think I'm just really confused.
I'm super confused by it.
I don't know what the point of the story is.
I'd like to think that it's not over yet. That this argument,
maybe there's more to be revealed. I just feel like it stumbled at the end. I feel like it wasn't very cohesive. But again, I think a lot of it was our own fault for making stuff up that never happened, and theorising about things that never happened, and expecting there to be more to the story.
I'm sorry, but the way that they did it, where they clearly didn't show what happened at the moment, or the moments just preceding the crash.
It was very misleading.
It was super misleading. It was set up for us to think, no, there's more to it than this. And then when they turned around...
I don't think it was set up like that. I think it was accidental. I think accidentally... Because we talk a lot about the language of a story and how a story progresses and the beats of a story and twists, and you can subvert that sometimes and use it against your audience to surprise them in the future. But the way that Coronation Street told the story, and like you say, not having those last 3 seconds, although she had flashbacks, I don't know. And the car, unfortunately... The crane shot or the drone shot or whatever it was, where we saw the whole scene, we saw them crash into the wall, and then we saw that car just drive off in the opposite direction, and that man just having a stroll along the road just really made it seem as though there's a lot more here. That, who are they? Where are they going? What's up with that? The other thing that was felt like a misdirection was the CCTV footage, which literally showed a car driving into a wall. It didn't show any of the, like, beginning of that. It didn't show the fact that it just showed that angle and that car. It felt as though there was more that we hadn't seen.
Yeah. That just wasn't on the
It's just because of the angle of the shot and where the car came from, it just didn't feel right.
Well, like you said, the story's definitely not over, so there is the very slight possibility that more will be revealed as part of the activism story. But I'm not gonna get my hopes up.
Well, we did. I did a poll and I said, "Toyah's not guilty. What do you think?" And I had yay or nay, and 56% said yay.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty good.
Well, she's not guilty of murder, but I never thought she was guilty of murder. Why on earth she was tried for murder? I don't know.
But again, brilliant performances. Really, really glad that Toyah's been given a meatier story, even if I didn't like it. I think I want Toyah to the thing is, I don't want this to be Toyah's only shot at a big story, because I think that Georgia Taylor's got so much potential to really carry a massive story. Yeah.
And I love her and Leanne. They had some wonderful scenes this week. I really, really love her and Spider. But
I tell you what, if her only story is just like having fun with Spider and being sweet and drinking kale smoothies with him, I think I'd be alright with that. Because I think Toyah deserves a bit of happiness. Although she's a murderer. And it wasn't like it's not like she murdered someone that I didn't like. You know? She murdered someone that I would rather have stayed in the programme.
Actually, yeah.
Even though, obviously, it wasn't her decision. It was Charlie DeMello's decision to leave the show.
It doesn't make
but
sense
not be murdered by
free.
Toyah.
She's like as bad as Gary Windass now. Speaking of which, come on, Gemma, let's move on to the next story. I think we've made our feelings on this one
No. The thing is, she also tried to kill herself as well. So I think that shows a different kind of level of violent impulse. But is that kind of a bit more scary? Is she actually a worse villain than Gary? Because she's like, I don't care how I take you out. I don't care if I die too.
Take myself down with you, yeah.
She's actually more scary. She's like the Terminator. She'll stop at nothing.
The Toyahminator.
Right, go on then. Khaadi story.
The Khaadi story. This is quite good. More revelations.
Oh,
sorry,
I've got one more thing that I wanted to say about the Spider thing. Michelle Young pointed out to me.
Who's that?
Oh, sorry. On our Facebook group, she said Spider pushed the police officer at the protest was a clue because it was so pathetic. Because I argued with you last week. Yes. But you didn't really articulate what you meant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So I didn't understand what you meant. But you very right. Yeah, that's correct. It was a bit of a clue, wasn't it? This is the thing. This is what I'm having a struggle with at the moment because of the spoilers that we know because of our trip. Is making this very difficult for me to work out what I do know and what I should know.
Well, we didn't know anything about that story, did we? But we certainly do know things about where the Kelly storyline is going.
No, but I knew when Spider pushed that police officer that he was also a police officer.
Yeah,
so
right.
I didn't really pick up properly on what I was supposed to be getting from that.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with a few other things that are happening. It's not great. I'm not gonna do spoilers. I don't like them.
Not on a regular basis.
No. So that's why I'm really, really glad that we don't do spoilers on this podcast because I don't think that the format works very well when we know what's going to happen. So on Wednesday, in the Khaadi storyline and Rick and Mortis, Dev is full of the joys of spring and he's arranging a homecoming party for Ardy because you remember that Ardy's decided to go back to live with his dad because as a compromise because they're going to get married and they're not going to run away to Gretna Green, so he feels like he's a bit guilty and he wants to get his dad on his good side and be nice to him.
Yeah, but they're still planning at this point to go to Gretna Green, aren't they? Yeah, was the football team stuff this week?
No.
Or was that last week? Oh, I've lost track. We'll find out.
We'll find out as we read it out. This. I feel like I'm in a time warp. My memory is shot. And none of this is making any sense.
Right, go on.
When was the last time we did a podcast? It was earlier this week.
It was. Yeah, I know.
Okay, so he's got a new golf cap. He's very excited as Dev. Kelly sees Toyah in Victoria Gardens, says she's getting engaged, and Toyah's very pleased because she wants her to be happy. Ardy goes back to the flat and tells Gary and Kelly that he's chickened out telling Dev about the wedding. So Kelly says, I'll go with you. And Dev comes home. He's in a bad mood. His hat's ruined. He's had a bad game of golf. So Ardy decides that now is the perfect time. Just pull the bandage off and tell him that he and Kelly are going to get married. And Dev is not happy about this at all. He actually shouts at them. He reminds them, because he's been listening to this podcast, he also is not a Kelly fan. He said, excuse me, you're getting married to this stupid woman who is the reason why I'm paying hush money to the internet to stop bloody pictures of your naked sister, a video of your sister with a top off, to go on the internet because she's a child pornography distributor. Okay? I'm not happy with her. And everyone's like, oh yeah. And then Asher says, I don't mind. Like, excuse me, hang on. Well, Asher's like, right, Dad, go away, take a deep breath and come back. But I'm kind of on Dev's side here. It's like, it's really sweet that they found a love and everything, but I think they should go away and try with someone else.
Yeah.
Because there's too much baggage here. And
I definitely agree with Dev that it's not the best person.
And also, how long is Dev having to pay this money for? Where's the end point? Is there ever going to be an end point? Whose burden is it?
What happens when Dev dies?
Kelly's got all this money. Why can't she pay some money towards this?
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. She's
fund.
got this £380,000.
If I was Dev, I'd say...
If she felt really sorry about it, yeah, she would be.
I think the only way around this is for Asher to become a OnlyFans account holder.
You reckon?
Because then it's just advertising then, isn't it? Actually, no, because it's child pornography, isn't it?
It still is, yeah.
Asher promises that Dev will come around to the idea, and Andy's like, I don't care, I don't need his approval. And Asher says, well, maybe you should wait a few months. And Kelly says, we should prove we're serious by having an engagement party. Great. Dev goes drinking with Gary, trying to get him to see some sense, because Kelly's proper dodgy family. And Gary says, look, she's nothing like Rick. She's a good kid. There's no point trying to break them up, support them, or risk losing them, which was my opinion. But I know that's not what everyone thinks, and sometimes, in fact, it probably isn't the right approach. Don't know in this case what the right approach is, but I guess time will tell. Ardy and Kelly tell. I mean, we know because they're in a soap that Ardy and Kelly are not going to be married in 50 years' time. So. You know,
so
Dev's right. Ardy and Kelly tell Asher and Gary that they've decided to wait until they're 18, there you go, and get married here properly, not go off to Gretna Green. Gary's pleased. He assures them that Dev will come round. Everyone seems to be very convinced that Dev's going to get over it.
Wishful thinking.
They're excited about planning a party. Dev comes home, sits at the table, and Ardy says, we're going to put the wedding off. And Dev says, well, you're not getting married at all. I think you should get a prenup, actually, because... And he kind of insinuates that Kelly's a grubby little gold digger. And Kelly's like, yeah, we should get a prenup because I've just inherited £380,000. And Dev's like, well, I don't care. You're not getting my blessing. Good for you, Dev. Stick to your guns. Even though she's probably your future daughter-in-law. A Thursday, Gary gives Kelly a menu. It's the party menu at the bistro. They want a spoiler, and he keeps offering to give her money for the party and the wedding and things. It's like, Gary, calm down. She can pay for her own wedding. You're not her dad. Obviously, he feels guilty that he killed her dad, but we'll find out more about that later. Kelly finds Ardy, Asher, and Nina planning the party in the cafe, and she wants everyone invited. She wants to pull out all the stops. She orders a load of dresses. She's going to have 7 different outfit changes, so she gets all excited, and she goes to try everything on. And Maria's like, when she leaves, Maria says to Gary, this is ridiculous. You shouldn't be getting engaged, let alone married. This is not going to last 5 minutes. And Kelly overhears this and comes out and has a go at her for being disbelieving of her true and sincere love for this boy that she decided to go out with about a month ago. Later on, Kelly and Gary are having a bit of a giggle on the sofa, and she says, oh, I am a bit lonely because actually hardly anybody knows me. And
at least compared to Ardy.
And Gary's like, don't worry, The only reason that happened was because all your parents are dead.
How did that happen?
Yeah, remind me again. She's left alone, and Kelly, who's been dwelling on the fact that she is alone in the world, finds Sharon's number and gives her a ring.
Not have it, Sharon.
No, not that one.
But
the good one.
Loan Shark Sharon.
The one who was
Rick's associate Sharon.
Rick's heavy, who used to go and beat people up.
Yeah. And
lurked around in the cavernous wasteland of his office with his Weathy County calendar.
Yeah,
I wonder what Rick would have thought about Weathy County signing James.
James
would he have liked him?
James was part of Weathy County by the time
Was
when
he?
Rick was still alive.
Did he have a calendar with him on it?
Yeah, probably.
Oh, brilliant. Gary and Kelly on Sunday are looking at wedding things. So it's clear that Maria's not happy about it. And Gary again brings up the fact that her and Tyrone got engaged very young. I don't see how this is an argument. They've already mentioned this.
I'm glad that they mentioned it once, but Maria had brought it up herself the other week, hadn't she? And when Gary brought it up again today, it's...
The thing is, Gary's like, whoa, I don't know why you're so mad about this, because you got engaged to Tyrone. And her argument should have been, and am I married to him now? No. I think I'm the best suited here to explain that this is stupid. So, Sharon shows up. Hooray! I was really happy to see her. Gary's not though. Gary's not pleased because she knows his secret. Oh, I wonder if he's going to try and kill her.
Maybe.
Sharon is keen to find out more about Ardy because she's like the nearest thing that Kelly's got left to her mum now. When she's left alone with Gary, she's like, he says, "What the hell are you doing here?" And she says, "I've just come here for the engagement party, honestly." And then she says, "Look, does it not bother you that you killed her dad, and that she's got no idea?" And he's like, "Yeah, it does a bit, but I sort of brood every now and then into the camera, and I kind of like do this thing where I steeple my fingers and I sort of put them down and I lean forwards on a kitchen counter or something, and I might shift my weight from one foot to another and kind of like..."
But then I just get over it and have another scene.
Yeah, I really don't have time.
Just go and sell an antique sofa and I feel all better about myself.
Yeah, I want a rug beater. So they all meet up with Ardy in the bistro, and he's for some reason he brings up the fact that Kelly got kidnapped.
I can't remember.
And Sharon's like, "Hang on a minute, you're supposed to be looking after this kid. What do you mean? She didn't have any idea this has happened." So when she and Gary get left alone again, he has to explain to her, and she's really upset. Sharon's worried that Gary's not looking after her, letting Kelly get in danger. Kelly comes back from the bar, and she asks Gary to give her away, like he's her dad. And Sharon's like aghast here. She's one thing after another.
Tell you what, Sharon certainly gives Gary away today, doesn't she?
Oh, she does, yeah. So, I mean, really, this is Shakespearean, isn't it? This man kills
sure the
somebody.
Corrie writers would like to say so, yes.
Well, it is. It's, I mean, no, that was the original soap. This is why it makes me laugh when people say that soaps are not worthy of, people's time, and they're just throwaway entertainment. So was that. Anyway, an old mate of Laura's, who's called Jay, no one's ever seen him before, just turns up for a scene at the barber's. He's found a load of her stuff. He's like, "Oh, I went on a holiday with your mum, and don't ask me why this makes sense, but I've decided to bring her your stuff."
I've been told that I need to be brought in. I've been parachuted in to try and get the story accelerated a little bit.
I got a casting call and I thought I would like to be in Coronation Street, so I come and I've got a bag for you.
Yeah, have a look through it.
He basically said, I thought he was going to say, I'm your dad, because he started saying, "Oh, we went on holiday with your mum and then she disappeared and she only left this trace of this bag." And they always wondered what happened to her, and that was almost 18 years ago now. But no, this was 2019, so he's definitely not a dad. So she's like, I don't want this stinking bag. I don't want to know anything about my mum, because as we all remember, although she was sad when her mum died because she didn't get to say goodbye, she was still a bit mad at her because she thought, Laura confessed that she killed Rick, her dad, but she didn't. She was covering for Gary. But Kelly doesn't know that. Back at number 7, Arnie's trying to convince Kelly that she's probably going to regret it if she doesn't look through this bag of stuff. And he says, look, why don't we go and get the bag? You don't have to look in it, or I can go through it with you, or we can take it to the tip. But I think we should go and get it. So they do. They get the bag, they start looking through it. And then the second thing she pulls out...
What do you know?
After
it's a clue.
Shell bracelet is a clue. It's a digital camera with holiday snaps from June the 17th, 2019.
Sorry, does anybody still use those types of digital cameras now that we've all got these mega ones on our phones? I especially would have thought that somebody like Laura, who was...
very with it and trendy.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
would be just using her phone to get her Instagram shots.
I tell you who does use cameras like that is influencers and bloggers.
Oh.
So maybe Laura was actually... Maybe she's got her own Instagram page where she vlogs sun lotion or something. She looked very glamorous and beautiful and happy, and so Kelly was enjoying looking at all the pictures until she realised that this date is when she confessed that she killed Rick.
Yes, the date on the photos,
on the camera, yeah. So she's like, that can't be right. So she rushes off to speak to Gary, and she asks him, when did Laura say that she killed Rick? Was it June the 17th? Because she can't have done it because she was in Spain. So if she didn't kill Dad, then who did? And Gary starts coming up with excuses straight away. Oh, Laura got the date wrong. Oh, the camera date is wrong. Oh, there's probably some reason. I mean,
Didn't
really...
somebody say later in the episode, oh, Laura dropped the camera down the toilet, so that would have made the date wrong.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's one of these sort of Occam's razor things, isn't it? Where it's like, what makes more sense to you? That a woman said she killed your mum said she killed your dad, even though she didn't, or the camera was set up with the wrong date.
Yeah.
I mean, that's more likely, isn't it? But clearly she's barking up the right tree, because this is true. Laura didn't kill Rick. I'm sorry, I'm not explaining this a really dumb way, but I'm so tired. I'm trying to explain it to myself.
so tired.
And I'm also slowly losing my voice.
I've got a sore throat and I'm really tired.
Yeah. Gary says, everyone. Laura's got the date wrong, blah, blah, blah. Carrie's like, no way, this is new evidence. We need to hand this in. And Gary says, well, the investigation's closed. We need to look to the future.
Just ignore that, Kelly. It's definitely your mum.
He didn't really try hard enough to say. I mean, logically, it doesn't make sense that she would say on her deathbed, knowing what Kelly would do and how she would react. Why would she do that? If I was Gary, I'd say, don't torture yourself. You missed out on saying goodbye to her because you thought she killed your dad. Why would she say this? Yeah. You're just opening old wounds. Is it because you feel guilty that you didn't see her before she died? This is probably why you're thinking that you're grasping at straws.
Yeah.
He's not as clever as me though, is he? Sharon comes up to Kelly and Arnie in the street, and Kelly's like, oh my God, look at this camera thing. Can you believe it? But I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I want to move on. And Sharon looks upset. So Sharon goes and sees Gary and says, what's going on? Look, you killed Kelly's dad, you framed Kelly's mum, and now you're living off Rick's money, and you're ruining this poor girl's life. She's aghast. She's still reeling from both of these terrible things that have happened to her. Why are you doing this to her? How can you live with yourself? And Gary says, no. It's all fine. She wants me to give her away. Kelly will be fine if she can move on. And she says, look, Sharon, please can you go along with the idea that this photo, this camera's got the wrong date on it. And if you can't do that, why don't you just not bother coming to the engagement party? Because Kelly doesn't need this right now. And he's like, I'm protecting her and everything will be fine as long as she drops this. So Sharon finds Kelly and says, look, I can't come to your party. I'm really sorry. And then this is when Kelly shows her the camera. And Sharon tries to deflect her and says, oh, it's probably knackered because she dropped it down the toilet. And then they start talking about Gary. And Kelly's just frantic, isn't she? She's like, I don't understand what's happening. What's going on? And she says, Gary's such a great foster dad to me. And then Sharon says, look, I know he's a great guy and he's done all this stuff for you, but maybe you shouldn't believe everything he says. He's not as good as he makes out. I don't trust him. And Kelly says, this was really funny. She's like, I don't trust him. She goes from, look, he's all right, but don't listen to him, to, okay, I'm going to tell you why. It's because he killed your dad. I didn't want to
She has
say
some
this.
juicy goss. She's been holding on to this for like 3 years now. She's
I wasn't
going
going to say
to tell
anything,
someone.
but he just told me
As you asked,
couldn't come to a
okay.
party, and I wanted to go to this engagement party and say, you know what, stuff him. He killed your dad. So Kelly's like, what? I can't believe this. This is when she gets properly frantic, and I really thought this scene was great. And they were like, Sharon was crying as she was telling her this, and she kept like wiping the tears away from her eyes. I thought this was great. Sharon's played by Naomi Cooper Davis, and I want to give her props because she did a really brilliant job. I also think that she's really underrated as Sharon, because Sharon's had some really great range, hasn't she? She's had these kind of scenes. She's been menacing and scary and remote. She's been very friendly, and she's had funny lines, and she's done all kinds of different things. She's really great.
Yeah.
So I was really happy to see her back again, and I thought that this performance, both of them in this scene, Millie Gibson as well, obviously, fantastic. What a scene!
Yeah,
where
they did.
Kelly, after all this time, finally finds out. And it's interesting that it was Sharon that told her. And I know a lot of people saying this felt a bit rushed.
It did. I agree. Like the trial this week.
It was logical, at least. I will say. I thought it was quite logical. It just felt like this could have been a week's worth of episodes. But again, you know, it's very difficult for them to get this right, because when they take too long, we start complaining.
Yeah, I know. We just can't win. We're a fickle bunch, aren't we?
But
I did think that it was like it went from like everything was fine to, you know, in the space of half an episode, here's some evidence come up, here's Sharon come up, and the truth is out.
I mean, how long ago was Rick killed?
3 years ago.
So this is a 3-year storyline, and it got solved in an episode.
I think part of the problem is that it has been 3 years and people have kind of forgot some of the details about it. You know,
well, they're hoping that
how does Sharon know about it, for example? Because what happened back then was Gary was trying to plant evidence to make it look like somebody else killed Rick or something. I can't remember. I don't even remember all the details. But Sharon walks in on him and he ends up blurting out, "I killed your boss." And she just keeps quiet for a quiet life, really.
Well, she knows he wasn't wronging.
Yeah.
And she always has a soft spot. Both of them have a soft spot for Kelly. And it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, Gary's done quite a lot for Kelly, but he killed her dad. So. Yeah.
That was kind of it, wasn't it?
No, hang on.
Oh, go
no,
on.
you've missed all this stuff.
Sorry.
Kelly's reeling, and Sharon's like, do you think it was a turf war between Gary and Rick, and that's why he really killed her? And Kelly's like, I wondered what the hell was going on with Gary, and I thought originally that he was involved in Rick's disappearance, but he convinced me that he wasn't. But why would my mum say she did it? This doesn't make any sense. And Sharon says, look, Gary's a very good liar, and Kelly's having a meltdown. And then she eventually is convinced that what Sharon's saying is true. And she's just adrift in the world now. She doesn't know what to think. She goes up to the flat. Gary's alone in the lounge, and she doesn't talk to him about this. She doesn't confront him. She just acts very subdued and quiet. And then there's a scene with Jake and Liam messing around, and Gary tells them to go to bed. Oh, he tells Kelly to tell him to go to bed. And then she does, and then Gary says, oh, you better listen to her, you wouldn't like her when she's angry. And Kelly says, you don't know the half of it.
Yeah, so she's plotting something at the end, rather than having it out with Gary straight away. She's just letting him dangle for a little bit longer. Yeah, this unfortunately is a story that we know far too much about what's going to happen to it next. Not just because the previews for next week's big week are out, but also because having been up at the set to see some filming when some of the follow-up with this was going on, there were bits that we picked out, so we can't in all honesty speculate.
But it's also one of these things where we know just enough to be dangerously stupid about not knowing some of the details.
We definitely don't know all the details about it, but I think
we've got a lot of the edge pieces.
Yeah, but it has been interesting over the last month or so, kind of saying, okay, so that's why that happened when we heard this about what happened when we were there and seeing the filming.
We have recorded our predictions of how the scenes that we saw being filmed came about.
To be, yeah.
So
we will release that.
We'll listen again. I'm glad that we did that, because I'm really, really interested, because I can't remember what the mindset that we were in was, but that would be fun. So the secret's out. For Kelly, what's going to happen
what
I
absolutely don't know is, what does it mean for Gary? Is his number finally up, or is he going to get away with it again? Because it only feels like, it was only 6 months ago or so, if that, when Laura died, and it felt like he's got away with it again, and he's got away with it again and again and again and again. He's as bad as Toyah. And I think, oh, come on, I just want to see him be banged up for this. I want to see him get what he deserves for it. But it just feels like he's going to wriggle off the hook again. I think but if he does, then what's going to happen to Kelly? Because is he going to kill Kelly? I seriously don't know. Because if she knows now, what reason has she got to stay quiet about the fact that he killed her dad? I suppose the problem is she doesn't have the evidence necessarily, but if she goes and tells the police or whatever, then they could certainly do a little bit more sniffing around, or literally just asking Sharon. Would Sharon stand up in court and tell the truth that Gary confessed to it? I don't know. But I'm kind of worried for Kelly's safety. She's obviously got a plan, but I just feel that Gary's going to get away with it again. What do you think?
Well, this is the thing. What does getting away with it mean? Is there only...
I know he has to live with the guilt forever and everything.
But listen to what I'm saying. Is the only soap justice dispensed through the courts?
Well, because courts or murder.
Yeah, do they have to die for their sins or go to prison? Or is Coronation Street trying to get us to think that there's something else that you can lose? But I agree. I think that if you don't get killed in the process of trying to stop those pesky kids from dobbing you in, or
yeah,
or if you don't end up in court, I don't feel like you've really been punished.
He honestly did kill Rick in self-defense and everything, but I think it's everything that he did afterwards, all the sneaking about and stealing his money and everything that was particularly shady. And I still think that if he got sent down for murdering Rick, then in some small way there'd be justice for Rana, who I put her death down to Gary's actions. That's not going to come out in all of this, has it? That's all gone, so he needs to be caught for this. But I don't think he will. But I'm very, very intrigued to find out what happens with it. But I just think, in the back of my head, there's a little voice saying, no, he's going to get away with it again. The slippery little toad. That's what I think about it anyway. I don't know. Well, as I said, we can't really speculate on this because we do know a few things, but we've done a little bit of speculating. So any speculation that we've just said there is genuine speculation about not knowing what's going to happen. Wedding stuff, Gemma. Like you said, definitely on Dev's side with that one. I think.
It's like even if you wanted to get married at 18, why her?
Yeah.
I think it's just a double whammy for Dev.
I quite like how Maria's kind of sticking to her guns as well, at being not completely convinced that this is the best idea.
But it's obviously a stupid idea.
Yeah.
There's no reason. There's literally no reason at all. The only reason they decided to get to even say that they were engaged was because they wanted to enter a competition. And then they just got swept away with the idea, and they decided they have to get married now. They don't.
Well, they're not going to get married now, are they? They said they're going to wait until they're 18. I mean, is that more palatable, or is it not really, because they've literally, like you said earlier, only been going out for 5 minutes?
But from
when you're 18, you're old enough to make your own decisions.
From our perspective, we knew within a few months of meeting each other that we were going to spend the rest of our lives with each other, and we wanted to get married and everything. So from that, and it turned out we were right. I don't know how that worked out so well, but it did. And we're not very good at giving advice, because our advice would be, I'm sure it would be fine, because we're still married now.
We didn't get married for another 8 or 9 years, did we? That's the difference. That's the difference.
I think if you're sure, you don't mind waiting until it's. Well, but to be honest, Michael, if we had 380 grand, we would have got married then, wouldn't we?
Yeah.
The main reason we didn't get married was because we didn't have any money.
I suppose we're looking at it from a pair of soap viewers watching a pair of soap characters who we know that these kind of things will never work.
And also, your mum and dad met at school and got married.
Yeah.
And they were sort of childhood, well, not childhood, but like school
Tell you who else got married to each other, I think canonically within weeks of bumping into each other, quite literally. Stan and Hilda.
That's right, Stan and Hilda. So, you know.
But they weren't 18.
They're not that mad, are they? It's not that crazy.
And they make a great couple. I think they're lovely. I think they're very sweet together. I flip and love Ardy and Kelly together.
If only there wasn't that inconvenient problem with the whole Asher and the child pornography thing.
Yeah, Ardy really can
I
pick
wonder
them,
if
can't
Dev
he?
will throw
But,
a spanner in the works by reporting Kelly. Did she ever get in trouble with the police for this?
I can't remember. I think it must have all come
Could
out.
he not just get her in trouble for this?
I think that he must have already done that. I can't remember all the details about it.
That's probably true.
As much as I'm on his side, I would like to see him, if they go further with this, him sort of saying to Wadi, okay, Asher has forgiven Kelly for this. I suppose I will as well, but...
Yeah, but he's still paying the money. It's not like her saying sorry gets rid of the fact that... I mean, so Asher's cool with her brother marrying Kelly, but only as long as her dad's paying blackmail money. What if Dev says, well, I'm not paying the blackmail money if you're that cool about it?
Yeah.
I bet you Asher would change her tune then.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, there's some great stuff that's going to be coming up in this storyline over the next week or so. So we will leave this one. We'll park this one here and then come back to it next episode and see if it lives up to our high expectations for it. But
can I get a drink?
You want to eat a bit thirsty, are you?
I've got a sore throat.
I don't know. We both got sore throats.
You gave me a sore throat because we're married.
I'm just going to go and You go on. I'm not going to start the recording. I'm going to tell all the lovely listeners about what Stu and Sean have been up to this week. What you're getting yourself. What are you going to get? What
do you think?
Booze. Right. So on Wednesday, good old Alia and Zidane are finding Stu in the cafe, and things aren't going well for him. Nobody's come to speed dial anymore. They're all going to the bistro for their birthday parties and their I'm not a murderer party and all that. So he says, maybe it'd be better if I didn't work here anymore. And Alia says, no, you're brilliant, chef. We don't need to leave speed dial, please don't. So then we have a few scenes with Billy on Wednesday as well, where he's selling some soup kitchen stuff in the right outside Victoria Court. It's like, what? Seriously, all he does is an archdeacon. Anyway, Alia tells Billy about all of Stu's woes going on at the moment, and Billy says to Sean, "Why don't you welcome back?" Billy says to Sean, "Why don't you go to speed dial for your birthday? You probably get a seat. You probably get a table really easily for 10 people, even if not all 10 turn up." And Sean doesn't really want to go to a place where a murderer's cooking, but is later convinced anyway.
It's kind of funny how Coronation Street's accidentally stumbled upon a problem that a lot of restaurants are having at the moment, with a lot of people not having bookings because everyone's worried about the future and how, the recession and fuel bills. Are they going to be able to afford to pay their bills, etc., etc., so they're not going out? But Coronation Street's reason is, there's a murderer in the kitchen!
Anyway, basically all that happens is by the end of the episode, Billy's had a chat with Stu saying, don't worry, someone's going to forgive you eventually, and people will forget about you maybe being a murderer later, just like they kind of forgot about me maybe murdering Susan Barlow, and everything will be okay. And somebody else will be the talk of the wash house in
Coronation Street who actually probably hasn't murdered or tried to kill.
I think you're right. So anyway, Sean books his table at the bistro for his lovely party on Thursday, which goes as well as you might expect. So there's I very much appreciated all of the decoration that went on to Sean's birthday table. It was very, very Sean.
The tablescape was absolutely beautiful. I'm obsessed with tablescapes. Every time I try to do one, it just looks absolutely crap. So, and I've bought table runners and everything, and I just can't do it. But this tablescape is beautiful, teals and hot pinks and all the colours that are in the bistro, and candles and flowers.
Lovely.
And gorgeous.
But not as lovely as Hunky Matt, who makes an appearance on Thursday's episode. Seriously, what is going on with him?
Bloody hell,
when he turns
Alia
up and Alia's
away.
like, "Oh, I fancy Huggy Matt."
Just take Alia and throw her in the
Who
bin.
bloody cares? Anyway,
Hate
happy
Alia.
birthday, Sean. You have got a kimono for your birthday,
He's
so
the
you're the new
new-
Ken Barlow of the street. You'll be here
He's
for the
the
next
Ben Carlo.
50 years. And also 2 tickets to Moulin Rouge in the West End.
Can I just say another thing? It was really funny because Lawrence gave Sean a kimono, and then in his pocket was a piece of paper, and he opened it up. And it's a good job that was not me, because if you gave me a kimono and then a piece of paper that had a secret thing that I was going to get, I'd be expecting to be taken to Japan,
Yeah.
not to the Moulin Rouge in the West End.
Anyway,
Not the Moulin Rouge, the show Moulin Rouge without the vert at the beginning. It's even worse.
Sean is sad to hear that Sean can't come to the party later because
Lawrence can't come.
Lawrence can't come to the party later. He's got too much dentistry to get on with.
Likely story.
And then later on, Hunky Matt and Alia go and have a smug drink in the bistro. About I can't remember what they're being smug about this time. Probably saying, "Oh, it's related to Toyah, isn't it? And about
Like
what a
she's
rubbish
gonna
time she's
go
having
down.
in court." And Ryan's watching on, all miserable like, and he's like, "Oh, Ronnie, Alia's the one. I really do fancy her and everything." And Ronnie says, "Well, you need to do something about it, my son." So
You could drop dead at any minute and have to be
meanwhile-
resuscitated on a football pitch. You should just
Meanwhile,
live your
back
dreams.
at Speed Dial, there's a customer there that's telling Stu what a lovely meal he's had there.
Didn't trust
Banging,
him.
he says, "I'm going to be back with all my friends." But then, when he's left alone, he does a sneaky phone call because he's been scoping out Stu, and he's like, "Yeah, he's that murderer in the paper and everything." So then everybody's gathered at Speed Dial later for Sean's meal. And then this guy from earlier pops up
Comes
and's
in
like,
with his
"Padam, I was Charlie's mate, the person what you killed." And then he opens up a box of cockroaches and lets them loose in Speed Dial, which is all quite fun. But
But they were really cockroaches.
they were
weren't
actually
they?
crawling around cockroaches. Yeah, they were. They must have been from the Coronation Street animal handler brought them in. No cockroaches were
We don't
harmed
really
in the
have
filming of
those
this
here,
episode,
do
I
we?
hope. No, we don't. It's not really an English thing, is it, to have cockroaches?
No.
If
I
yeah,
think-
cockroaches crawling about is very US.
I
Not us.
Yeah.
Them.
I think I was in college, so I was like 17 was the first time I ever saw one, and that was in Italy. It was crawling
Yeah,
around.
I've never seen a cockroach in
It
real
was
life.
crawling up a wall in a restaurant.
Oh.
So that wasn't fun. But yeah, that was I
Anyway.
think that was probably the last time I've seen one as well.
Everybody scarpers out of the Speed Dial because they're terrible. They're either up on the table or with their trouser legs pulled up so that the cockroaches don't crawl at their legs, or they're scarpering away.
If that had been spiders, I would have run away.
Yeah,
We all know that now, don't we?
By the end, we do from last week. By the end of it, the Nazirs and Stu were left in an empty restaurant again, so the saboteur has
wah, wah.
won. So later on, Alia and Hunky Matt have a bit of a snog. Ryan comes up and says, "Sorry, Alia, for nicking the bistro money and up in an idiot." And she says, "I don't care. Look, you lost any chance of being with me, to be honest, when you got with Daisy the other year. So
And everyone was like,
I'm
what?
going off with Hunky
Forgot
Matt."
that happened.
I know. And then Lawrence turns up for Sean at the end of the episode, and they have a nice kiss because Lawrence tells Sean he does actually fancy him, so isn't that nice? On Sunday's episode, we're back to the whole lawyer stuff. And I thought that by the end of the episode that something would happen with this, because all they're doing is asking a solicitor if they can take on the case, and they're like, "Yeah, you got to give me £15,000, please." And they're like, "Oh, that's a bit steep. Sorry, we can't. Let's go back to our old plan of looking through boxes of evidence and hopefully we'll find something." But they didn't. I was thinking that by the end of the episode, they'd magically
break in the
uncover
case.
some crucial piece of evidence that they hadn't found before. But no, it was just left back to the default position of rifling through paperwork. And I guess we'll have more of that next week if we're lucky, everybody, eh? So any thoughts about this at all, Gemma? Alia and Matt, or Alia and Ryan, or I don't care.
I think that Alia is going to be the Rabia Chaudhry of Stu's serial story, because in the serial, the podcast.
I know of it.
And it's about Adnan Said, who was accused of and found guilty of killing his girlfriend, Hae Min Lee, and the cat's running around. This woman, Rabia, was her his friend, and she used to drive around with her car full of boxes and boxes of trial documents and all the evidence from the case, trying to convince somebody to help her to crack the case and prove that Adnan didn't actually kill Heyman Lee, right?
Right.
So this is what this is, because interestingly enough, there was just a massive break in that case, and now it looks like this guy's going to go free, or he's going to get another trial, which is what she's been trying to do, but it's taken her years and years and years. So I wonder whether there was a bit of inspiration here from that, because just the visual of them all like poring over these documents, going, there must be something in here that proves he didn't do it. There must be something here because he didn't do it, and there must be a clue. Do you think that Zidane and Alia will find this?
Oh, probably.
Or do you think they're going to have to pay somebody?
I don't know. I mean, if they want money, they'll find it, won't they?
I just kind of feel like Coronation Street's letting me down a little bit with some of the details of these. And I know it's not really a show about crimes and stuff, but I think the trouble with them is that, with Coronation Street, is that once it starts tackling crime stories, there's a very high expectation that we have of that kind of story and how to tell it, because of all the crime dramas and the police procedurals and the podcasts and the true crime stories that we all surround ourselves with all these little nitty gritty twists and all the details and the clever little plot clues and stuff. And Coronation Street isn't a show about that. It's a show about relationships and people and how they interact with each other. But when they start these, they kind of like go down a bit of a rabbit hole, and then they can't back it up with anything because it's not that sort of show.
Well, sometimes they do.
They do, but I think that makes it even worse because, just in the Toyah...
you expect it every time.
Exactly, in the Toyah story, that wasn't really a true crime story about whether a woman killed her husband, and it was a story about, I don't know what it's a story about Toyah being guilty and how she's going to cope with knowing that she,
Yeah.
So I'm thinking to myself, we've got this really cool setup there with, are they going to read out clues to each other and then realise that there's a contradiction somewhere that proves that she couldn't possibly have done it? No, probably what's going to happen is who's the name of the policeman that was involved?
I don't remember.
The policeman who was accused, who was the bank copper who forced the confession out of Stu've. Is he just going to pitch up one day and go, let's stop digging around? I know, and it was me what done it, and I don't want anyone to find out. And then Ali will be like, that was great, because I was recording that on my phone.
Yeah.
Is that going to be
Moving
it?
on.
I feel like there's going to be another cop-out.
It might be. Well, he's going to... Yeah, that cop is going to be out if he... I know he's already out, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm just getting a bit frustrated with some of the ways that these things are being resolved, and... The stuff that they're trying to do is very ambitious, but I don't feel like it pans out. But the trouble is, having spoken to a lot of the people that work on the show and seeing how complicated everything is, I can understand how sometimes these things just don't work out. Especially if you've got a story that's going on for 3 years, and the actors, the planning that goes into it, and all the things that happen behind the scenes that we don't even know about, like, oh, you can't do that because so-and-so's ill, or this thing didn't work out because the contract didn't get renewed for that actor, or, oh, they're not available anymore to come back. Yeah. It's just a logistical nightmare. It's honestly a miracle that they make any episodes at all. But and it's not the same as a TV show. Like, I don't know, I can't even think of one. What's a TV show?
Doctor Who.
No, that's not a crime drama, is it? About an alien that keeps committing crimes across the universe. I don't know.
I don't know.
What's the story about crimes?
Tennant, no. What's that one that David Tennant was in? Broadchurch.
Broadchurch. It's not like Broadchurch where, they've got 10 episodes or however many in a series, and they can take all year to write it and film it, and it's all very tightly plotted and everything is in its place. It's a show that is aired every single 3 to 3 times a week, hours and hours and hours.
And stories come in and out of it.
And get woven in and out, and sometimes things just fall off the burner. And also, do we care about Ryan and Alia? No, I don't like Alia. I want her to be miserable.
That was at least one One good thing about Toyah being let off, even though she really shouldn't have been today, I got to see Alia getting a bit miserable about it. I care a little bit more about. It was kind of sweet with Sean and Lawrence. Like, Lawrence himself as a character hasn't done anything to ingratiate himself towards me. He seems a bit dull and bland so far. But it was kind of sweet when they had that kiss on Thursday's episode, wasn't it? It's kind of nice to see.
Well, Dylan was there going, yeah, Dad.
Yeah, he was, wasn't he? And it's nice to see Sean having a bit of luck in love
and
for a change.
And you said to me, I don't know if I've ever seen Sean kissing anyone before.
No, I know. I'm trying to wonder. He talks about these dates that he has, but as I say, he's so unlucky in love.
He probably has, but I also don't remember him ever getting off with anybody before. But yeah, I think does Lawrence have a secret? I mean, what could it be? I'm just a dental hygienist. Oh dear, yeah. Wow.
Right, come on, let's move on. Glenda story.
From cruise singer to booze bringer. That was me. I was a booze bringer just then. Wednesday.
You're not a cruise singer though, are you?
I could sing on the cruises. They would pay me to stop, but don't think that's the point. On Wednesday, Glenda and Sean have arranged a pamper date at number 11, and then in the pub later, George says, "Sorry, I made I let Glenda in the house, and she's making
Glenda's just getting her feet under the table a little bit too much for Eileen's liking, isn't she? And she's stealing the OT biscuits from the cupboard and stuff.
And he says, I'll have a word with her. So
I don't know why Glenda doesn't just live at George's massive house that's just down
the road.
Yeah,
wait a bloody minute. This doesn't make any sense. So George finds
to forget about that.
Glenda with a face mask and cucumber eyes in number 11, and she gets in a huff, and when she realises that Eileen wants her out and flances around. And in the cafe, Glenda tells Sean that George told her that she needs a job. And Sean says, well, why don't you try the Rovers? Because Jenny's going off to Canada and they probably need another barmaid. So Glenda says, sounds great. So, not very long after, she's already got her feet under the table at the Rovers, telling Gemma and Jenny about cruise ship stories. Pulls her first pint, it's all head. And then she drops it on the floor. So it's not working out very well. Because Glenn's shipmate actually wasn't working in a bar on the ship. I was a singer or something. And Jenny says, well, you can't have a job then. But then George comes in and says, why don't you try her out because she'd be great. Just need to give her a chance. And Gemma says, I'll train her up. And so she gets a trial period. Hooray! On Sunday, Jenny's visa's been approved to go to Canada. It's that simple. It's because Justin Trudeau came over to see the Queen. And so they were like, while you're here, can I call you Justy? Can you sign a few bits please? Of paper, yeah. Are you short of landladies? Do you have pubs? So she's been approved. Everything's starting to come together. She's trying to look on the bright side. She thinks that she needs, a shot in the arm. She's probably feeling still a bit melancholic about how Leo kind of killed her husband by not sorting the sinkhole out on time. But maybe it'll cheer her up to go and have some maple syrup and Timbits. Sean convinces Gemma to come into work later to help them out on the shift so that he can be with Lawrence. And then as the shift begins, Daisy's telling Jenny about how much she likes doing admin and says she would definitely make a great manager. And Jenny's like, oh, I don't know. And Glenda is serving Stephen at the bar, and he gives us a note, and then she brings him the change, and he says, oh, I gave you a different, you owe me more money because I gave you a bigger note. And she's like, no, that's not true. But Jenny overrides her and gives him the money. Now, if he's trying to make, how much does he owe his wife? 200,000 euros.
Just by pretending that he gave her a bigger...
Shortchanging Glenda by £10
he's
per half pint. It's not going to work out. Then we get to see the scene that we watched being filmed, which is when, in the back room, Jenny is trying to sort the rota out, and then Daisy comes in to convince her that she wants to be the manager and she'd be really great at it. And Jenny's like, oh yeah, well, how would you do the rota then? And she's like, give all the people I like all the shifts and none to the people I don't
we saw this scene being filmed like 4, 5, 6 takes. I can't remember it.
Well,
it was one of the shorter ones compared to some of the ones we saw later, which aren't going to air for another week or two.
We walked in when they were sort of middle way through rehearsing.
But, there were some lines in this that like as we were watching the episode tonight, we were like calling
really
out lines.
vividly.
Daisy's going to say that Gemma can't even pull a pint, and Daisy's going to say, I know how to make a rota. You got to give the shift to the people you like, and no shifts to the people that you don't. And so it was so funny finally saying it again. Yeah, Glenda's going to because. Oh, it's just so fascinating watching it. And Charlie Jordan was brilliant in that scene. And she's just so full of energy on set as well, wasn't she? She was just kind of like dancing around in between takes and everything.
She looked like she was having a great time.
She really, really was. And I was interested to see the bit where she's standing behind Jenny while Glenda is trying to convince Jenny that Stephen's shortchanged her. Because... Every time that they filmed the scene, Charlie did it a little bit different. Like the way she's reacting to Glenda's stories behind Jenny, and there was one where she was fiddling with her hair, and that was kind of my favourite take of it. And they didn't use that one, but it was just I've been looking forward to this for so long. It was really, really good. I mean, there was nothing particularly majorly stand out about the scene itself, was it? But I think it's going to be.
It was very significant for us, very significant, and it was really, really bizarre because we were standing to one side and we watched everything from one angle, which was
we were behind Sally Ann Matthews on the when she was sitting
like
on the table
over her shoulder.
Yeah, but we could see it on screens, couldn't we? In the various angles that we could see on the screens as well. So that it was the final cut, obviously, that we saw today. But we've seen all different things from all different angles. It was really.
It was like so watching bizarre. The movie version of a play that you'd seen lots of times before.
Yeah, it was.
And it was also funny because when you watch it, it's like a living thing that changes. And they sort of built it up between them all and sort of collaborated to make the final thing. But then it's set in stone, and when you watch what they actually filmed, it's like the mosquito caught in amber.
Yeah.
You know, that's it. That's preserved. They've preserved that energy and they've put it into this scene, and that's how it will always be remembered. But we saw all the different bits that went into it.
Also, since we've been to see those bits filmed, obviously the stuff with Jenny and Stephen has come out, which we didn't know when we were watching the film.
That's
so
true.
when Glenda comes in and says, this American guy shortchanged me, and Jenny's like, he's Canadian actually. Yeah, he has a confusing accent, which is hilarious because it was a bit of a fourth wall break to the people who say that Todd Boyce's Canadian accent maybe isn't particularly genuine sounding. But yeah, we didn't have any idea that Jenny had snogged Stephen at this point. So there's an extra layer of meaning there. It added a different meaning
to something that we didn't realise at the time. Like she's trying to brush it onto the car because she doesn't want to get into anything.
She just she doesn't want to have anything to do with Stephen anymore.
Yeah,
it was brilliant.
So there you go. That was the first of a few scenes.
Yeah, and it was cool. We were all behind the camera,
confusing than the next.
Yeah, when the scene finished, Sal and Charlie and Jodie came off and they walked past us and they said hello and everything, didn't they?
Yeah,
it was so good.
Because we'd met. Obviously, we know Sal very well.
We met Charlie at the Soap Awards this year. And this is
she didn't recognise me because I was standing behind a camera.
Oh yeah, that's right. She said, have I met you before? And you said, I was the one that was filming before. But she was really literally, they were on their way out. They spoke to us for 10 seconds or so. Yeah. And that was the first time that we've met Jodie Pranger, who plays Glenda, although we'd had sent a couple of messages on Instagram before. So
she said thank you.
Really nice.
She was so great. Can I just say also that she's not been in the show for that long, but she really felt like she was very, very professional. She's doing a brilliant job. It felt like she'd been there forever.
Yeah, and
she's very, very confident.
This is the other thing. When we watched that scene being filmed, I didn't realise that Glenda had literally only just started at the Rovers, because I was under the impression when we were there, because of something that Adam Blease said when we had dinner with him, that Glenda was going to be a barmaid very, very imminently.
Why are you throwing Adam under the bus?
Oh, sorry. I'm just saying that's what it was.
Because Adam was trying not to spoil things for us.
Yeah, no.
So he was being a bit, what's the word? Obscuring what he was saying so he wouldn't give too much away, but you must have misunderstood what he said.
I misunderstood him, I think. But yeah, when I watched the scene being filmed, I thought, Glenda by this point has been working at the Rovers for a month or so. But no.
So exciting! I'm so happy that she's there. Great to have her as a barmaid.
Oh, I think that having Glenda as a barmaid is brilliant.
Anyway, we're hijacking this because we need to finish
the story.
So Leo buys plane tickets to go to Canada, And then he's like, oh, we should get Stephen to have a drink with us. And Jenny's like, no, don't think so. Gemma shows up at the Rovers, and I think
Leo's got a bit of a man crush on Stephen at the moment.
He seems to really. What he's like, can we ask him to come with us?
Can we ask him, let him tell us everything about being Canadian?
I think we should be Polly and have a relationship with me, you and Stephen.
I think it was a bit like, when Hayley came into the show and she was loitering around Alma all the time to find out how to be a woman. And Leo's doing exactly the same. I want to be Canadian. I just want to have... So he's being Stephen's shadow at the moment.
What was I saying?
No, nothing.
Oh, this was really... I thought this was funny. Gemma shows up at the Rovers and she says, Jenny's made me the Rovers manager and I'm going to do a makeover and make everything into leopard print. And
for a moment, I was like, what the hell? You're actually making Gemma in charge?
And Daisy was like, oh, great, wonderful.
Well,
Jenny's standing behind... laughing.
As soon as Gemma started saying, I'm going to, make leopard print all over the press.
No, as soon as Gemma said, I'm going to... No, I think before she said, I'm going to give it a makeover, I went, oh, it's a joke.
No, I didn't. At first, I realised it was a joke when she said that. But then in the back of my head, I was thinking, maybe she has been made manager, but she's just joking about the... But, because I suppose, Gemma has been working there longer than Daisy has.
Well, listen, she makes her... It's just a joke because Jenny's laughing and she says, Daisy, the job's yours if you want it, ha ha ha. But actually, can I just say, Jenny's absolute bitch here because she went to Gemma and went, clearly you've got no chance of ever being promoted because she's just a thick chav.
Well,
so can you do a joke with me to pretend that I've given you the job of being manager just to fool Daisy into thinking...
No, well, Gemma did say, well, look, there's no way that I could do it. I've already got so much on with the quads and everything at the moment.
Well, you can't do with more money? Anyway, that was great. Finally, Daisy's got promoted.
Yes.
Hooray!
Good choice.
Because we know Jenny's definitely going to go to Canada.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Jenny is. She's out of the programme. Sania Mattis is gone, for sure.
Yeah. Daisy and Gemma do a quick photo shoot outside the pub. And Jenny comes along. I mean,
Daisy just doesn't like Glenda. Get yourself inside.
Daisy doesn't like Glenda, and then Glenda spills drinks all over her. And annoys her by saying, oh, that wasn't clean on anyway, so that's fine. And Daisy's like, actually, this was new today, thank you very much. But Glenda redeems herself by manhandling a drunk man who was leering over Daisy out of the pub. So Daisy's very impressed with her.
I think that Glenda is going to be the Betty to Daisy's bet.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, chuck him out.
Yeah, chuck him out. She's got the elbow grease.
Yeah.
Daisy's impressed by Glenda's upselling skills on Peter. What does she offer him?
A large orange juice. I don't know. I can't remember.
Do you want some whiskey in that orange juice? He's like, yeah, actually, I would do. Offers her the job, and Jenny says, "How come you've changed your mind about her?" And she says, "Manager's prerogative." And Jenny tells Leo that already she feels like she's been left out of her own pub, but she definitely does want to marry him and definitely does want to go to Canada because even though she's leaving people behind, she'll make new friends. And she hugs Leo, but she's got tears in her eyes. And there's also a bit of a scene where she's got the umbrella and she's looking at the pub and she's kind of like, what have I done? What am I going to do?
Looking at Rita's picture on the mantelpiece and everything. So sad. Sad.
Yeah, she's not going anywhere, is she?
No.
But the thing is now, what is Daisy gonna... Daisy's gonna love this. Daisy's gonna be like a tyrant for a couple of weeks.
She was even saying, wasn't she, oh, the power is going to my head, it's making me dizzy.
She's brilliant.
So good.
Daisy, Glenda... and Jenny really have a massive potential because already Daisy and Jenny were brilliant, but sometimes adding an extra person, like for example Stan, Hilda, and Eddie, that really worked. Even though Stan and Hilda obviously outlived that kind of trio, and they already were established before he came along. But for the time that he was on the show, that trio worked so well. Yeah, and I can see them. Having as good of what's the word?
Yeah, good chemistry.
That's the word. And
Glenda has also built up quite a nice relationship with Sean as well. It feels like we never really see Gemma behind the bar anyway. Very, very rarely. So I don't really care about what that's going to be. But I think we have got a good Rovers team here.
One thing I was going to say about Gemma is that I've noticed her cropping up in lots of people's stories recently, and she's not had her own story for a long time. So that's interesting to me. Are they making her a background character more?
I don't know. They had their story at the beginning of the year with the disappearing Joseph, didn't they?
I just don't. I think Gemma works really, really well as a comedy character.
Yeah,
she's
no
better.
more than that.
Well,
the comic relief.
The thing is, it's not even that, because obviously Dolly Rose Campbell's incredibly talented. She's really, really good. But I think she's really brilliant at comedy, and it's a shame that they took Gemma down a more dramatic route for such a long time. And the trouble is, any dramatic stories that she would do would revolve around Chesney and the Quads.
Yeah.
And they're just really boring.
I enjoyed when Daisy did her name drops of all the Rovers landladies, and that was very much in Daisy's character as well, to do a bit of research, because that's just what she did with Daniel, wasn't
herself.
it?
Yeah.
When she was doing all the research about the poets and what have you, and she's been reading through that Abigail Kemp book, hasn't she, to find out what Corrie or something. So it was so cool. I think she's great, and
she's so cheeky.
Yeah.
She's like it's like a woodland sprite.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, does she have what it takes to be a Rovers manager, or is it just so happens that she's there?
Is it just going to all dissolve into chaos, which will make Jenny have to abandon her plans to go to Canada with Leo, and then Leo will get in the huff and go off without her?
You'll have to see. You'll have to wait and see. And finally, we've got a James storyline. Stay awake, everybody. We're nearly at the end. But he's in hospital on Wednesday, clearly still fixated on getting back to the pitch again. And Aggie's like, oh, I don't really think I'd like you to go back to football again if you're going to drop dead again. But then the heart doctor comes and says, oh, James, good news, you can be discharged tomorrow. And I'm even optimistic about the fact that given time, yes, you could play football again, but you need to listen to your club's medical team. And then there's a little bit with Michael coming in and telling James, stop being so down in the dumps. You need to fight and you will get back on that pitch again one day. You mark my words. So, Wednesday, so Thursday's episode, he's just got a visit from his manager, hasn't he, at the club, and he comes round and says, oh yeah, you know that contract that we gave you, James, that said you could definitely play football again? Well, you've had a heart attack, haven't you, mate? So I think maybe just get better from that, and then maybe we might give you a job again, but in the meantime, sorry, you're not a footballer with us anymore.
It's basically said, we didn't really sign the contract, so it's been rescinded.
Yeah, basically.
So you're adrift. Sorry, you're on your own.
And James is having a bit of a mope on the sofa, saying, "Oh, footballing's all I'm good at now.
Well,
what are we going to do?"
It's not only that; it's also the fact that he's young, and every year counts, doesn't it?
Yeah.
He's only got a certain amount of time as a footballer. I don't know when they normally retire, but
yeah, it seemed a bit harsh, but.
Well, they don't care, do they? They're out for themselves. They're not bothered. They're not running a charity for heart patients, running a football club. I thought they were awful, and I think if I was James, I wouldn't want to go back and play for them again.
Yeah, I think that maybe Aggie had given him a bit of a backhander, hadn't she? Anyway, that was it for this week.
No,
Corrie.
What about James? What's he going to do? I mean, for God's
dear.
sake, wasn't he saying he wanted to be a coach and support people?
Yeah.
Why doesn't he just do that, for goodness sake? That's where all the money is, isn't it? Isn't it like when you're an Olympian and then you just become a sports pundit or a talking head?
Yeah, be like Sebastian Coe and be very honourable at things. Yeah, or Gary Lineker.
It's like when you're in Big Brother and you get 8th place, so you spend the rest of your time appearing on TV shows at Christmas going top 100 celebrity shocking moments of 2022.
Yeah,
you remember when
James
the Queen died? Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, right, Gemma. What are we scoring this week?
Do you think that will be the top? That was going to be the top level 1 celebrity shocking moment.
They didn't do top celebrity shocking moments.
But I like them.
I like them.
But it's half of them are like, this person you don't know did something you don't care about.
And the other
Can you
half is
believe it?
what the Kardashians have done. Okay.
Isn't that the same thing?
I thought that this week's Coronation Street was not quite as great as I'd really, really wanted it to be. The way that the Toyah trial went, it just didn't sit right with me, and that's going to have to be reflected in my score, I have to say.
But I have to say, can I just give them props for the fact that we really, really, really did not know whether Toyah was going to be found guilty or not guilty, because I couldn't work it out. Normally, I'm like, I'm kind of 80%. I'm usually sure that either they're going to get away with it, or they're going to be found, they didn't do it, and then they're going to get found not guilty, or they'll get found guilty and then they'll reverse it in a miscarriage of justice sort of story. But this was like, I don't even know whether I want her to get away with it.
No.
If she found guilty, I was thinking if she's going to get found guilty, maybe they won't give her a custodial sentence. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I really did not know what was going to happen. And I don't think I've ever been that unsure about a trial. And also as invested in what the result was going to be. Because normally I'll be like, oh, well, whatever, see you later. Whereas this is like, you can't go to Toyah.
Yeah. Well, I can't give character of the week to Toyah. There's no way. As much as fantastic as Georgia was, the fact that Toyah, the character, stood up in court, blatantly lied about it to save her own skin.
I know, because not only did she kill Imran, but she perjured herself.
Yeah, so sorry.
That's a crime.
You're not getting character of the week.
Well, she's getting my character of the week because you have a different criteria to me. I say who I liked or who did the best job or who was the best acting. Because I think Georgia Taylor did a fantastic performance.
Oh, that
I
was
think
performance of the week, no question about it.
So for me, I'm a bit more fast and loose with what character of the week means to me, whereas you give it out like it's some kind of Good Samaritan Awards, like we're both for Good Samaritans.
If only Daisy had been in it for more than just tonight's episode, maybe she would have a shot because she was brilliant with what she was in.
What about poor Stu?
Stu.
Or Sean for having a snog?
I'm kind of going between Leanne for being a lovely supportive sister and I mean, I don't know whether there's anybody particularly in the Khaadi storyline that, you know, warmed the cockles of my heart and got me all revved up quite so much.
Again, very good performance from Mel Gibson.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
I think I will give it to Leanne, who, even though she was telling Toyah, no, you got to keep quiet, you didn't actually do it, and I don't know, but I loved her supportive sisterness of it.
But to be honest, Michael, I have to say, if you came to me and you said, oh dear, I ran over someone on purpose, and they're gonna ask me if I meant to do it, and I'm gonna say, oh yeah, I did, I'd say, don't tell them that you did it. Can you lie?
I'm giving it to Leanne.
Because Leanne only cares about Toyah. Leanne literally doesn't care about anything else. But unfortunately for her, in the same way that you would probably feel guilty, in a sense, she's not understanding that Toyah probably did need to be found guilty to soothe her soul.
Yeah. Do you have a score, darling? Charlie?
3.
Yeah.
3 Scuttling Spawns of Satan.
3. It's a real shame that it had to be 3, but the big bits were rushed.
I think
the outcome.
I'm just gonna say
felt
I
underwhelming
feel like
a bit.
I ruined the trial for myself.
No, if there's a trial
and
coming up in the soap, you have every right to expect big things.
It wasn't even that. It was that I think the pair of us built the story about Toyah and Imran and what really happened.
Perfectly natural to do.
But I think we've put a very good case in to defend ourselves as to why we came to that conclusion. And I think that, again, also I'll say that we don't consume and watch this, and you who are listening, the same for you. We don't watch this the same way quite a lot of casual fans or viewers will watch it. Yeah, I think we over-analyse things, which is part of the fun and why we like watching it. But they don't write it for us. They write it for people who flick through and go, oh, hang on, what's going on here?
Yeah. I'm going to give it 3 drug-using, revenge porn distributing, immoral ex-cons out of 5.
See, I'm on
really wanted to go higher, and I'm hoping that, you know, with the big week coming up this week, it will be a higher score, but it just didn't quite go the way I wanted it to this week, I think. So that's where I'm leaving it, I think. So well done, Batters Biz, you got character of the week. And that's it.